Hello, everyone, and welcome to another installment of TEDXcellence, the show in which I attempt to discover what it means to be where I am legally. And I come to you live from my Corona bunker on the moon with Dogcat Fox, a Pepperjack, and all of you. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Tuesday. Special edition Tuesday. Why am I doing this on a Tuesday when usually I don't? Well, I switched nights with Ranting Monkey for hosting Lords of the Night, so today I actually am not hosting another stream, so my personal rule is not broken. So there you go. That's how it is. Let's see. Now, before the stream, and thanks to Absolutely Degenerate for pointing this out at the top of the chat, because everything up but beyond that got cut off. But before the stream, thank you, Point Curation, for the super chat, who said, I consider immigration to the United States due to incremental growth of tyranny in my country, as in Canada. That statement sounds ridiculous to everyone I know in real life. Frogs plus pots, as in the frog in the pan of water slowly warming up. Yes, I think I understand. And it is a grim circumstance. The stories I hear both directly from my friends in the UK and elsewise, and stories I just read in the news. Sometimes I think it's crazy here. I have a hard time sort of imagining what it must be like to live in countries where the laws are specifically aligned against you from being able to express yourself or do much of anything without some virtue police coming along and sending you to jail, perhaps. It's quite a thing. But that all being said, thank you so much, Point Curation. But what are we talking about today? Well, we are talking about citizenship, because there are apparently 3 questions I need to ask myself about U.S. citizenship. Now, I haven't done a video on immigration in quite a while, or immigration matters, let's say. And somebody's really revving their engine off in the distance. So this caught my eye to begin with, but more so the thumbnail attached to the original video, in which the guy has a sign behind him that says something to the effect of a no documents citizen or something. It's been about a day or so since I looked at it, so I know I'm misquoting it, but we'll see it in a moment. That caught my attention more. But who all is joining me as we try to answer whatever these 3 questions are? And yes, I understand the title alone already makes a list, something we'll circle on the bingo card, but we'll get to that momentarily. Matt Barnes, hello. Absolutely Degenerate, hello. Point Curation, hello. Grillin' Pirate Pete, hello. Jaeger Pony, hello. Wade Willison, hello. Chaos X, hello. Black Belt for Christ, hello. Dark Alile, hello. Aloysius Fudpucker, hello. That One Servant of Satania, hello. Saint Michael, hello. Asian Hippie, hello. Havoc Vladimirovich Stalinov, hello. Brittany Holland, hello. You're Ridiculous Lunatic, hello. Toku, hello. And I gotta skip down a bit because chat jumped, because of course it does. Big Assassinati, hello. Rotten Corpse, hello. Deco, hello. David Graham, hello. Johnny Stoffel, hello. Mr. E, hello. Crimson Tiger, hello. Zero the Hero 909, hello. Eric Grunstatter, hello. Mike R, hello. Shio Gorath, hello. Megan Ring, hello. Quinn the Cultist, hello. P-Dog Knight, yo. P-Dog Knight, why don't you have a wrench? Why don't you have a wrench on my channel? That has been addressed. That has been corrected. I don't understand that. Mike Savage, Blarg. Gulf City, Peterbilt Confederacy 379. Hello. Pink Howell, the Driving Ape Man. Hello. Check Your Logic. Hello. Zero the... Oh, I said Zero the Hero. Angry Illinoisian. Hello. Functional. Hello. Who else? Oh my gosh. So many people. That the way was Anthrax Allen. Hello. Willett Forge. Hello. No One Nowhere. Hello. Mr. Hugh. Hello. Delta Z. Hello. Faithless. Hello. Brian Has Opinions, formerly the Broken Baller. Hello. Chef James, hello. Dina B, hello. The Original Shroom, hello. Leo Prime 75, hello. Something in Russian, hello. And Ryan H, hello. Darren Thompson, hello. All right, guys. All right. Yes, Satania, you almost... trying to keep track of all of you. It's a horrible, wonderful problem to have. All right, guys. So, per usual, the bingo card is in the description if you need a link to it. We will circle as we go. And also, I will start off with a few seconds for sound test. You guys tell me if you can hear it, and then we will continue. This one is a relatively short TEDx talk. It goes at 8 minutes, 36 seconds. So there's that. We'll see how much commentary is required.
4 years after arriving in the United States.
Okay, 4 years after arriving in the United States. I am an American without papers. That's what the sign said, and that's what it says there. I am an American without papers. Okay. Now, the name I recognize for some reason. I think I've heard of this person before, but my frame of reference is obviously muddled. So I hope he will refresh my memory as we go. Let's see. Mike R says sounds good. Anthrax Allen says sounds good. Megan Ring says sounds good. Johnny Stoffel says got it. All right, let's continue.
Like any typical 16-year-old, I went to get my driver's permit. After I showed the clerk my immigration papers, my green card, she told me it was fake.
Okay. So 4 years after you came to the country, you went to get your driver's license at 16. So you came to the country at 12. All right.
Don't come back here again, she said.
Oh.
That's how I found out I was in America illegally.
Oh, okay. Well, that clears that up real quick.
And I'm still here illegally.
Okay, well, I appreciate the candor. All right. So that makes the statement behind you a little untrue, doesn't it?
I'm a journalist and filmmaker. I live in stories. And what I've learned that what most people don't understand about immigration is what they don't understand about themselves.
Oh, that sounds deep and introspective. Okay, what don't I understand about myself as relates or is analogous to immigration?
Their families' old migration stories and the processes they had to go through before green cards and walls even existed, or what shaped their understanding of citizenship itself.
Well, my understanding of citizenship itself is that you reside in a country legally under the laws of that country, and are a permanent resident, effectively. I mean, you can reside in a country legally and not be a citizen as a refugee or something like that, but that you've become an actual citizen. You've passed whatever tests or requirements are required by the country to qualify to become a legal citizen with all the rights, privileges, and responsibilities thereto as any other citizen. So that's my understanding of citizenship, and in a general sense, worldwide. Is that am I operating under a misapprehension?
I was born in the Philippines.
Okay.
When I was 12, my mother sent me to live with her parents, my grandparents, or as we say in Tagalog, Lolo and Lola.
Okay.
Lolo's name was Teofilo.
Okay.
When he legally immigrated to America and became a naturalized citizen, he changed his name from Teofilo to Ted, after Ted Danson from the TV show Cheers.
That's cute. That is legitimately cute.
Can't get any more American than that.
Well, not sure that it quite holds the weight you meant there, but okay.
Lolo's favorite song was Frank Sinatra's My Way. And when it came to figuring out how to get his only grandson, me, to America, he decided to do it his way.
His way being illegally. So he went through the process of becoming a naturalized citizen. He went through all the hoops necessary at that time. But when it came to his grandson, he decided to cheat the system? Is that what I'm to understand?
According to Lolo, there was no easy and simple way to get me here.
Well, that's usually true for most countries. Easy and simple is called cheating.
So Lolo saved up $4,500. That's a lot of money for a security guard who made no more than $8 an hour to pay for the fake green card and for a smuggler to bring me to the U.S.
Wow. Okay. So he paid a criminal to have a 12-year-old in their care to bring them purportedly safely to the U.S., as well as fake documentation. Why would your grandfather, after having gone through all the processes necessary to become a naturalized citizen himself, why would he cut so many corners, take so many risks, and put you and he in legal jeopardy, and actually a 12-year-old in physical jeopardy, by breaking the law in so many ways? I don't know that we'll get an answer to that question, but it really makes me curious.
So that's how I got here.
Yeah.
I can't tell you how many times people tell me that their ancestors came to America the right way.
Yeah.
To which I remind them, America's definition of the right way has been changing ever since the first ship of settlers dropped anchor.
Oh, okay. Well, then I guess any past law is as valid today and as relevant today as it was back then. All right. So that means that the Emancipation Proclamation never really happened, because laws in this country, when they change, it doesn't really change. The rules as we live under them now don't mean anything if the rules were different in the past. Correct? I mean, is that the logic we are to proceed under now? Laws, obscure and or defunct laws of the past now over or supersede the current laws? Is that how I'm supposed to look at that? I mean, it didn't used to be illegal to come to America the way that you did necessarily, so it shouldn't still be illegal. Okay. All right. Thank you, Mikhail, the Driving Ape Man. Why do they always conflate citizen and resident? There's a lot of conflation. There's a lot of conflation by saying immigrant, as though that refers to anyone who comes to this country full stop, rather than distinguishing between legal immigrant or illegal immigrant. We see that a lot in the media, and it always irritates me. Thank you. This is Kyle. Hello, chat people and scribbles. Hello, Kyle. Okay, so your logic is that your status should be considered not criminal, or that what your grandfather... Here's the thing. I can't hold our speaker necessarily to task for what happened to him. He was a 12-year-old. He was a minor. He was trusting in other people, and he was, effectively taken advantage of to a certain extent. So on that score, I can't blame him for how he got here. But now he's trying to rationalize it away as not a big deal, because it didn't used to be a big deal the way he did it 100, 200 years ago, which makes absolutely no sense.
America, as we know it, is more than a piece of land, particularly because the land that now makes up the United States of America used to belong to other people in other countries.
Yeah, it did. Yeah, that's true. So has every other inch of civilized or occupied territory on this planet over millennia. So what? And you're right. It is more than just a piece of land. It is also a sovereign nation made up of laws. Laws that you are apparently breaking as we speak. So there you go. And again, the sins of the past, or the circumstances of the past, are meant to what? Indemnify you from the responsibility you have as an adult today? Somehow?
America, as we know it, is also more than a nation of immigrants.
You're right, because a great deal of the population of America are not immigrants. They are natural-born citizens. They were born here. We are at a point in our history now where we are populated more by, and I know this word is loaded, but it is true. We are populated more by native citizens, I'll say it that way, than we are by people who have come here from other places. All right. I don't know what else to tell you. Several generations of born in America citizens are here, more so than people who have come first generation from other places.
There are two groups of Americans who...
Okay, he hasn't finished his sentence yet, but I have a feeling what he's about to say is not actually groups, but our demographics. And I know these are my pet peeves, conflating terms and using the wrong terminology. Now, I am not going to stand on some pedestal and say that I am the saint of all English language and terminology. I'm not, obviously. I've stumbled over my own words here. But there are some things that are fundamental. Not groups, demographics. Unless he's about to list off like the Sierra Club and the Rotary Club, he's going to be talking about demographics, not groups, I bet you. Thank you, tall person. Hoy, y'all, just got home from work and we'll watch in full later. Happy National Whiskey Sour Day, everybody. A whiskey sour. I haven't had one of those in a long time. Whiskey cola, or pepper jack, as the cool kids say. Well, I'm having one of those right now.
Who are not immigrants, Native Americans who are indigenous to this land.
That's not a group, that's a demographic.
And who were killed in acts of genocide, and African Americans who were kidnapped, shipped, and enslaved to build this country.
Also not a group, but a demographic. And find me a African American living in America today who is a slave, whose parents were slaves, whose grandparents were actually slaves. Now, that does not change the history of this country. That does not somehow make slavery no big deal or whatever in our history, as far as it's concerned. But there are zero slaves in America today under law. I don't know what's going on in some serial killer's house somewhere in a basement like that Castro guy. But insofar as it being a legal slave trade or something, that's gone. Been gone for a long time. And you fall into neither of those categories yourself, do you? So what does that have to do with your living here illegally, might I ask?
America is, above all, an idea, however unrealized and imperfect.
I suppose this is true in the philosophical sense, but it is also a sovereign nation with laws, borders, a military, governments, hierarchy, bureaucracy, and on and on and on. It's not an amorphous blob. You know, the virtues of America, the principles of America, and so on. Yes, those are high-minded philosophical notions, sure. But diluting America to something where you're still not here illegally, you've got a real tough row to hoe there.
One that only exists because the first settlers came here freely without worry of citizenship.
The first settlers came here freely without worry of citizenship. Well, there was no nation effectively at that time, at least not as we understand it today. And aren't those first settlers the people who started that whole, I don't know, oppression of the Native American peoples you were just complaining about? So are you equating yourself with the colonizers? Because I hear that's a bad thing these days.
So where did you come from?
My mother's womb. Born in the USA. I know exactly where I came from. And we know exactly where you came from, because you told us. What has that got to do with anything?
How did you get here?
Well, I was delivered in a hospital. And there I was. Ta-da! Something of a unexpected arrival on the part of my parents. Not because they hadn't planned on it or something, but because my mother had 3 miscarriages before I was born. My parents didn't think they could have children because of whatever was going on. So my coming along was a welcome surprise. And a year later, my sister coming along was a second welcome surprise. And then my parents made sure there would be no more surprises. So yeah, I know exactly where I came from. And we know exactly where you came from. And it has nothing to do with anything. It's how you got here that matters. And the differential between me and you. Like I say, I can't hold you to account for how you arrived here. You were a minor. You didn't have any sort of cognition necessarily of what was going on, and no say what was going on. That's fine. But you're a grown adult now, and you realize or have some knowledge of the reality of the situation. So Where are we going with this?
Who paid?
Who paid? Well, I guess my parents did. You know, both the costs of the birth, I suppose, and also my mother, you know, physically. She was in labor with me for 36 hours. Something I remind her of on each of my birthdays and on Mother's Day. Just as an inside joke. You know, thank you for your 36 hours of labor to produce the most perfect human being on the planet. Or something like that, you know. So, and you know, they paid ever since in raising me and all that kind of thing. I hope I've done well on reflection of their efforts. Oh, I'm getting so maudlin all of a sudden.
All across America, in front of diverse audiences, conservatives and progressives, high school students and senior citizens, I've asked those questions.
Okay, and?
As a person of color, I always get asked where I'm from.
You always get asked where you're from because you're a person of color. Okay. Do you take that as offensive? Because, you know, I went to Louisiana one time, and I was walking down the street, and a guy came up to me, and he asked me for the time. And I gave him the time. And he looked at me, and he said something to the effect of, "You're not from around here, are you?" And I said, "No, I'm from, you know, where I was from," which wasn't Louisiana. And he said, "Yeah, I figured you were from that side of the country because nobody says 5 here that way. The way I pronounced the word 5, apparently to him, signaled to him that I wasn't from around here," that kind of thing. And so, yeah, I was asked where I was from, and I'm white. So what?
As in, where are you from? So I've asked white people where they're from too.
And okay, I say I'm from America. You know, or I'm from the particular state in which I was born. Or if somebody asked for my heritage, I can kind of give it, but my family's a big mutt. So, I don't know.
After asking a student at the University of Georgia where he was from, he said, "I'm American." "I know," he said, "but where are you from?" "I'm white," he replied.
Okay, free space, I'm circling that one. That anecdote probably never happened. That sounds a bit too on the nose right there. Let's go over the bingo card real quick. Attempt to coin new buzzword, buzz phrase, not yet. Word salad, no. Everything he said has made sense. Systemic institutional, I don't believe so, at least not yet. Patriarchy, no. Plays victim. I'm going to sit on that one because I'm pretty sure by the end of this, there'll be a much more fuller sensation of that, but we'll get there. Wage gap, no. Childhood or family anecdote, yep. His coming to the country was a childhood anecdote. Weightless example. I'm inclined to mark up the whole Native Americans and African Americans thing in whatever his story is about, but he hasn't finished his story yet, so I'm not quite sure where we're going. So I'm gonna hold judgment on that one. Excuse me. Privilege, no. White supremacy, no. A list, well, supposedly there's 3 questions coming, unless that was the first question. You know what? I'm just on the basis of the title. It listed off, there's 3 questions. So a list, I'm going to circle that one. Toxic, no. Make something about race, sex, etc. for no reason. I might be able to already circle that one, but I'm going to wait. I'm going to wait and see if there's anything else. Microaggressions, unconscious bias. He's kind of edging towards that right now with the whole "where are you from" thing, which is often cited as a microaggression. So I'll sit on that one as well. If he doesn't say it explicitly by the end of this, I'll probably take that one. Leaves out vital context. Well, I mean, the context of why his grandfather would do this versus what he did himself to come to the country. I mean, that's context I want. I don't know if it's necessarily important to his story yet, so we'll have to wait on that one. Self-vilification or wretchedness, not yet, and I'd be surprised if so. Benevolent condescension, not yet. Equity, no. Marginalization, not yet. Feminism, no. Takes credit for something done by others in their demographic. he hasn't taken credit for anything, but he's tried to diminish his situation by using past events undertaken by other people. So maybe I'll think on that one. Let's think on that one as we watch. We'll come back to that one. Mind reading assumes motives. In the story he's giving right now, maybe. We'll see if there's anything else. Melodramatic pausing for effect. I haven't noticed anything like that. And of course, this is edited. This isn't done live in front of an audience, so that's kind of tough to judge. Okay, so far I have childhood or family anecdote, anecdote that probably never happened, a list, and free space. Let's continue.
But white is not a country, I said. Where are your ancestors from?
Okay, well, now that is a more specific question, isn't it? Okay, where are your ancestors? Why didn't you say that in the first place? Or is that the point you're making, that people should ask that? Okay, fine. What is your heritage? Where are your ancestors from? Would that be more palatable to you if somebody asked where you're from, that kind of thing? Okay.
When he replied with a shrug, I said, well, where did you come from?
Okay.
How did you get here?
Okay.
Who paid?
Okay. Where did you come from? How did you get here? Who paid? Are those the three questions? Where did you come from? How did you get here? Who paid? Okay. Those are the three questions we have to ask ourselves about citizenship. All right.
He couldn't answer.
Well, then he must not be a citizen then, huh? Is that the conclusion? Does that make him a worse person than you?
I don't think you can talk about America as America without answering those three core questions.
Where did you come from? How did you get here? Who paid? Okay. You came from the Philippines. You were smuggled into the country. Your grandfather paid $4,500. So what does that have to do with anything? I was born here. To the first question, where do I come from? I come from America. How did I get here? I was born here. Like, born within the boundaries of America. Who paid? My parents, I guess, if you want to think about birth costs and such. So what does that have to do with anything except that I'm a natural born citizen? And you're not.
Immigration is America's lifeline.
No, I wouldn't say that immigration is America's lifeline. Not today. Not in the modern times. It might be core to its history, certainly. But lifeline today would be our economy. Mostly. Our military, perhaps, to defend that economy and on and on. So, no.
How this country has replenished itself for centuries.
Birth rates. I mean, it's not like you move to America and suddenly become sterile. Unless I missed something.
From the settlers and the revolutionaries who populated the original 13 colonies to the millions of immigrants, predominantly from Europe, who relentlessly colonized this land.
Right, which you tried to equate yourself with earlier as the first settlers didn't have to worry about citizenship, so why should you? I mean, that's what I got from you bringing that up. So now they're bad people for having done what they did? Unlike you?
Even though Native Americans were already here and had their own tribal identities and ideas about citizenship, they were not considered U.S. citizens until the 1924 Indian Citizenship Act.
Okay. So 1924. So let's see. 76. So 80 some odd years ago. Because I'm an English major, not a math major. Okay.
The landmark 1964 Civil Rights Act that Black Americans fought for inspired the 1965 Immigration and Nationality Act.
Uh-huh. And so there were laws in place before you were born and before you came over here illegally. Okay. Thank you, Matt Barnes. Am I only 3/4 immigrant if I'm quarter Mohawk? Asking for my own future knowledge. Yeah. John Miller, 96 years, scribe. All right, 96 years. Or just subtract 4 from 100. Oh, yeah. Like, I am an English major, not a math major, and a pepperjack in me. Leave me alone.
Which ended America's race-based exclusionary system that had lasted for 40 years.
Really? We don't have a race-based exclusionary system anymore? You might want to tell some of the protesters out there. Systemic institutional. Even though he didn't, as far as I can tell, use it in a derogatory or accusatory way. That's beside the point. Circle in that one.
I could go on and on here.
I wish you would, because so far you haven't made a really good point about whatever you're trying to make a point about.
But my point, my larger point,
yes,
is this.
Uh-huh.
How much do any of us, whether immigrants of the past or the present, know of these crucial parts of American history?
History students, people who care about that kind of thing. I don't know, because these things are irrelevant effectively. I mean, they're referential, certainly. They're historical. They're interesting, I guess. If you're a student of law or a lawyer, or somehow those laws become integral to your life in some fashion, I suppose it's important then. But most people, it doesn't matter. Most people, it doesn't matter because they were either born here or they came here legally. And they don't have to think about those things because they're not actively breaking the law by being here. So someone in your situation, I suppose it makes more sense to be aware of the details of these things, even though you're talking about laws that either A, are defunct, or B, you're currently breaking. So, I don't know.
How much of this history makes up the actual U.S. citizenship test?
I don't know off the top of my head. I did look this up several times in the past for other videos. What are the requirements for citizenship in the United States? And yeah, I don't know. I mean, honestly, I wouldn't have any problem with it being part of the citizenship test, perhaps. I mean, you have to have a working understanding of the laws of the United States, the Constitution. You have to be able to speak and read English, I believe functionally at least. Several other things. Is that what you're advocating for? That the citizenship test be updated with a mandatory knowledge of citizenship law and history? I guess. I don't know. I mean, is that what you're advocating for? Because that sounds like what you're advocating for.
Have you ever seen it? It's a mostly oral test, and government officers ask applicants up to 10 of the 100 questions. To pass, applicants must get at least 6 answers right.
100 questions. They ask 10 randomly. 6 are required to pass the exam. I mean, I've heard of tests with far higher bars. So, okay. And?
I looked at the tests recently, and I was aghast at the questions posed.
Aghast? Okay, why?
What constitutes acceptable answers? The glaring omissions.
So you're advocating for a more stringent and or difficult citizenship test? Okay.
There's a question about the Statue of Liberty and where it is. There's no question about Ellis Island, about the United States as an immigrant nation, and the countless anti-immigrant laws that were passed.
Why would they ask somebody about that? I mean, it's a citizenship test. It's not an American history class. But, okay, so You want the citizenship test to require questions be asked of potential citizens about the history of immigration law in America. Is that what I am to understand?
There's nothing about Native American history. There's a question about what Martin Luther King Jr. did, but largely there's inadequate and irresponsible context about African Americans. Here's an example.
I would love an example, because right now all I'm hearing is that you want a harder, more, I don't know, moral-based test for citizens to pass before they come into the country, I guess.
Question number 74 under the American history section.
Okay.
Ask applicants to, quote, name one problem that led to the Civil War.
Name one problem that led to the Civil War. Okay. I can imagine what the most common answer is if you're not a student of the Civil War in some fashion, but oh, are you going to say an acceptable answer isn't slavery?
There are 3 acceptable answers.
Okay.
Slavery.
Yeah. Okay. And is one of them states' rights, I'm guessing?
States' rights.
And the third one, and guys, I have not watched this. Slavery, states' rights, and oh God, what would be the third? I don't know, something abstract like economics or something. John Miller, thank you so much. The bigger problem is the amount of time it takes to become a citizen. And another fun fact, most Americans can't pass the citizenship test. This is true. So an official list, says Grill and Pirate Pete. Yes, this is an official list. See, Juggernaut says preservation of the Union. You're ridiculous. Lunatic says economic impact. Yeah, my instinct is to say something economic something. But back to John Miller. I have watched from the sidelines. And I've told this story several times. There was a coworker of mine who was moving here from actually the Philippines. And the Philippines. Sorry, I was thinking of somebody else real quick. Anyway, so I watched as my boss was trying to help him get over here to work because he'd been doing some stuff for us over there on contract. And then that kind of ended, but we still liked him and we wanted him to work for us and he wanted to come to America. So it was this whole thing. And I watched from the sidelines over time, and as our boss gave us updates, of all the rigmarole and hoops and back and forth and the visas and this, that, and the other, and all this stuff just to have him come over and do work he was already doing for us. But you got to follow the rules. You're not having somebody come over that's going to take work away from a qualified person here, etc. And it was ridiculous, or at least it seemed ridiculous just for me watching and listening about it, week to week as we got updates and everything. And I thought, man, this is so Byzantine, because there was one point at which he got to the airport and he was about to get on the plane with everything he'd been told was good to go. And then they found some kind of technical problem and they had to cancel his ticket and he had to wait another month. It was just nonsense. So I've always thought that the process of getting here, the immigration process itself, does probably need to be streamlined in some way. In what way, I couldn't say. I'm not an expert. But it seemed ridiculous for somebody who wasn't coming from like some kind of high-risk area of the world at that point in time. Had a completely clean record, was just a programmer, just a guy. It seemed nuts. As far as like what it took for him to eventually become a citizen, well, if the threshold isn't as high as this guy wants it to be, okay, that's an interesting conversation to be had, given what he's been saying otherwise. But yeah, no, the process of becoming a legal immigrant to come to this country legally and reside here legally, that is a rigmarole. And to a certain extent, it should be. It shouldn't be easy. It shouldn't be a light switch. But there's probably room for improvement. What that is, I couldn't tell you off the top of my head. I don't know all the details of what happened with my coworker. It's been a few years now. And but it seemed to me that it shouldn't have been as ridiculous as it was. Okay, all that being said. Let's see. Prosaic Dreams in Blue says the Missouri Compromise was a big reason. Okay, let's see. Let's find out.
Economic reasons.
I was right. Those are the acceptable answers? Okay. All right, and those are high-level summary answers to that question. All right? I mean, unless you're giving a long dissertation on the reasons behind the Civil War, unless you're asking somebody coming to this country and trying to become a citizen to be a Civil War historian, what more would you want them to say? How is that inadequate? What would you have them do otherwise?
Did my Lola and Lolo get that question?
I don't know. Out of 100 questions, 10 are picked apparently at random or something, and they only have to answer correctly 6. So I guess there is a 10% chance that they got that question in their list of questions. So
If they did get the question, did they even understand the history behind it?
are they required to? Should they be required to? How do you measure their understanding? Unless you're asking for long-form essay answers to these things.
How about my uncles and aunties and cousins and millions of other immigrants who had to take that test to become Americans?
Honestly, I don't know where our speaker is going with this. Is he advocating for less stringent immigration laws akin to how they were in the olden days that would somehow, I don't know, certify his path to this country, that he's not actually here illegally? Or is he asking for more difficult, higher standards to be set for someone to become a citizen? Because I'm getting mixed messages here.
What do immigrants know about America before we get here?
I don't know. It matters what you know by the time you get tested. So, are you advocating for pre-testing ahead of travel to America now to become a citizen? I mean, I guess that kind of goes hand in hand with preparing to become a citizen. What are you talking about?
What kind of citizenship are we applying for?
American citizenship, U.S. citizenship. If you're arguing that our standards are too low, that would be an interesting conversation. I don't know. If you're just talking about the testing standards, are they too low? Maybe they are. What should they be? What should someone who qualifies as a citizen be able to do or answer in the lead up to being certified? I don't know. Should everyone coming to this country be an expert American historian on immigration law or the Civil War?
And is that the same kind of citizenship we actually want to be a part of? Come to think of it, and I've been thinking a lot about this. What does dignified citizenship look like?
Dignified citizenship. Well, I would say it's someone who has come to this country legally, followed all the rules, passed all the tests, didn't cheat, didn't break the law, earned their citizenship through meritorious effort, and then from that point onward, behaves as an ideal citizen would, following the laws, treating everyone as well as you can, as well as yourself, and generally leaving people alone and making your own way in the world. That, in a very high-level notion, is what I'd think of as dignified citizenship.
How can I ask for it?
How can you ask for it? You don't ask for it. You earn it. You apply for it. And you work for it. I mean, I guess it's kind of a backwards notion in a way, but the fact that my coworker went through all the hoops that were put in front of him, that he actually endured all the paperwork and the testing and the waiting and the background checks and this, that, and the other, all through it all, even though I saw it all as ridiculous, by the time he got here and by the time he became a citizen, Simply as an observer and as a coworker and as a friend, I was more proud of him and more in awe and respectful of him for having gone through all that and becoming a citizen. It seemed, I was always more impressed with somebody who goes through that kind of effort, because yes, everybody who is born here doesn't have to worry about that kind of thing. And so it's very impressive to me when somebody goes to the effort of making that happen for themselves. And it causes me to wonder if I was in a similar situation, would I be able to go through all of that with as much grace and dignity as my coworker did? I don't know. I hope I don't have to ever find out, but there you go. So what are we talking about again?
When I just arrived here 26 years ago, when Black and Native people who have been here in America for hundreds of years are still waiting for theirs.
Still waiting? What? Waiting? Hold on. Waiting for their what? Their citizenship? Hold on. I got to back up. I'm sorry. I obviously have missed a step somewhere in there.
And is that the same kind of citizenship we actually want to be a part of?
Uh-huh.
Come to think of it, and I've been thinking a lot about this.
Yeah.
What does dignified citizenship look like?
Dignified citizenship.
How can I ask for it?
Uh-huh.
When I just arrived here 26 years ago, when Black and Native people who have been here in America for hundreds of years are still waiting for theirs.
So Native Americans and Black Americans, or African Americans, sorry, they do not possess dignified citizenship. You're going to have to define dignified citizenship then, because I don't know what that means. And I'm getting ready to circle buzzword buzz phrase, because I don't know that I've ever heard the phrase dignified citizenship as a qualifier before.
One of my favorite writers is Toni Morrison.
Uh-huh.
In 1996, a year before I found out I was in the country illegally, my 8th grade class was assigned to read The Bluest Eye, Morrison's first book. Instantly, the book challenged me to ask hard questions. Why does Pecola Breedlove, this young Black girl at the center of the book, why did she want blue eyes?
I don't know. I'm sure you'll tell us in a second. So yeah, I'm going to circle attempt to coin new buzzword buzz phrase, because unless somebody can tell me that dignified citizenship is a common term for something, I've never heard that before. Or I don't know what that means is compared to just quote unquote regular citizenship.
Who told her to want it?
Who told her to want it? I don't know. Why don't you tell me?
Why did she believe them? Morrison said she wrote the book to illustrate what happens when a person surrenders to what she called the master narrative. The master narrative, okay. And you are the girl in this story? Definitions, Morrison said, belonged to the definers, not the defined. Definitions belong to the definers, not the defined. So the people who wrote the laws as to what qualifies as a legal immigrant, they're the only ones those laws pertain to and not you. So illegal immigrant does not apply to you the way that the words actually are defined. I'm trying to do some work here in figuring out where we're going with this. He's only got 1 minute and 20 seconds left. Once I realized that I was here illegally, I convinced myself that if I was not a legal citizen by birth or by law, another kind of citizenship was possible. If you're not a citizen by birth or by law, and by the way, being a citizen by birth is the law. It is a very loose extrapolation of the law, as Monkey and I have talked about on several occasions on Lords of the Night, but they're both under law. So that doesn't mean anything. Citizenship as participation
No, 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 no. Citizenship is not participation. Okay, citizenship is not simply participation. I'm sorry, it's not. It's not. You can try to define citizenship however you want, but you are incorrect in this regard. Thank you, Bacala Driving 8 Man. This happened in 96, but what did Clinton do in 97? Have fun with Monica Lewinsky in the Oval Office? I don't know. What did Clinton do in 97? Like I said, I'm an English major, not a history major. And, you know, the fact that a Canadian knows more about relatively recent American history within my lifetime than I do on that point is really, really depressing. Oh, Canada. Oh.
I engage.
Participation is not citizenship. Engagement is not citizenship. Do you have your citizenship papers? No, you don't. You just told us there in that sign. You're not a citizen. You can participate and engage all you want. You are not a citizen. You told us this at the beginning, and it remains true. Excuse me.
I engage with all kinds of Americans.
And you know what? Irate Alex, my friend, he engages with all types of Americans through his YouTube channel. That does not make him a citizen. He participates in the dialogue and the conversations dealing with things happening in this country and worldwide. That does not make him a citizen. He could talk to Americans until he's blue in the face, and that won't make him a citizen. Neither does it make you a citizen simply for engaging and participating. So try again.
Even Americans who don't want me here.
Yeah, I'm sure. I'm sure you do. Very, very brave of you. Very brave of you. That says a lot about how terrible they are that they want people to follow the laws of this country. You know, I don't care where you come from. I don't care where your parents came from. I don't particularly care what you look like, how tall you are, what color you are, whatever. I don't care. I don't care. At the end of the day, all I care about is, are you here legally? Are you following the same rules that I'm expected to? Are you following the same rules that my coworker was expected to and did? Because I tell you what, I'm putting you, in the abstract sense, up against my coworker. And I'm saying, my coworker deserves to be here. He put in the effort. He put in the time. He put through the struggle and everything else and put in the work and is here and is great. And he's a citizen and he deserves it. Okay? You, unfortunately, were used, you know, without your ability to do anything about it by adults when you were a child to come over here illegally. And in that time, apparently you never got your papers or you never tried to find a way around it. Now, I don't know our speaker's particular situation. As far as I understand it, he should qualify or should have qualified under the DACA program back under Obama's era. And that he would have certain options to, you know, live here legally because he was brought here as a child. Unless somehow in his past he's broken the rules. And by broken the rules, I mean, in order to qualify for DACA, amongst several other things, you have to have a clean criminal record. You can't have committed any crimes while you're here. Now, I don't know our speaker's history. I don't know if he's protected under DACA. I don't know what's going on. He hasn't told us. So I'm curious to know, does he qualify for DACA? If he doesn't, why not? If he's here illegally, how has he stayed here illegally this whole time? These are questions I'm very curious to know. Thank you, Bacala Driving 8 Man. My high school education was in California, Scribe. Oh, I see how it is. Well, now, I know a little bit more of Pinkalo lore. Pinkalore? I'm sure that's some bad word in another language.
Citizenship as contribution.
No, it's not.
I give back to my community in whatever ways.
That's not citizenship. That is not citizenship. It's not. Participation, engagement, contribution, not citizenship.
I can. As an undocumented entrepreneur.
An undocumented entrepreneur. Okay, so you qualify yourself as undocumented. That's a feature, not a bug. Okay.
And yes, there is such a thing.
I believe it.
I've employed many U.S. citizens.
And that does not make you a citizen. It really doesn't.
Citizenship as education.
No, it isn't. No, it isn't. No, it isn't. Education may be required to become a citizen, but it by itself is not citizenship. You can be a Russian expert on American history and not be an American citizen. What are you talking about?
We can't wait for others to educate us about the past and how we got to this present.
Your past has nothing to do with American history. From birth to 12, your origins have nothing to do with American history. What has that got to do with anything about how you were smuggled here illegally? Your grandfather broke multiple laws, put you under threat of God knows what if you were alone as a 12-year-old crossing an ocean with a smuggler. What? I mean, someone paid to have you smuggled into the country. The fact that they were a family member and I presume meant you no harm or anything is beside the point. What if they meant you to be a servant? Then what? John Miller, thank you so much. Come on, knock off Seinfeld. Get to the point. What is the deal with jukeboxes? I don't get the deal with jukeboxes. You put a coin in and a song comes out. What's with that?
We have to educate ourselves and our circles.
Why?
Citizenship as something greater than myself.
Yes, it is. It's because it's something that you don't possess. So
we are, I think, individually and collectively rewriting the master narrative of America.
Given that you didn't define the master narrative, but I can use context clues, if you're saying that what passes as quote unquote normal and or acceptable, etc. in America is changing over time, I will agree with you. I will agree with you. And more often than not, it has to do with the changing of laws and policies, etc. Like the most recent and probably most dramatic example being the equality of marriage or equal marriage decision by the Supreme Court. Right. So same-sex marriage is legal in every state in the union, whereas in my childhood, under like don't ask, don't tell. That was a big thing back in the 90s under Clinton and everything. Don't ask, don't tell in the military. And that was while it was the name of the policy in the military, that was also kind of the notion, I think, societally at that point in time. It was sort of like, I don't want to know about it, right? It can go on somewhere else. I just don't want to know about it. But if it does become known, then it becomes a problem, that kind of thing. That was, like I say, I think that phrase for that policy is kind of the generalized thinking in America, in American society. But in a relatively short amount of time, that drastically changed. And here we are. So the quote-unquote master narrative has changed, and it will continue to change, for better or worse as time goes on, because America is malleable to a certain extent. We evolve or devolve, depending on what we're talking about, but that's sort of like, you take the good with the bad. But what won't change anytime soon is your being here illegally. So, yeah.
The people who were once defined are now doing the defining. They're asking the questions that need to be asked. A core part of that redefinition is how we define not only who is an American, but what constitutes citizenship.
You want the country to change to accommodate your situation. You want words, laws, and definitions to change simply to help you out because of your situation. No. No.
Which to me is our responsibility to each other. So consider your own personal narrative and ask yourself, where did you come from?
I came from the state in which I was born.
How'd you get here?
By birth.
Who paid?
My parents. Okay, so this was a 8-minute and 30-second long. I want reality to reshape itself so that I'm not here illegally anymore. Okay, let's go over to the bingo card and go over that real quick. Word salad. I never found myself saying what is he talking about, as I didn't understand what he was talking about. I was trying to make sense of why he was saying certain things or where he was going with it. So I suppose you might say then that the whole talk was kind of a word salad. I'll think about that one. Patriarchy, no. Plays victim. Yep. He is he's the victim of other people's definitions, guys. You know, legal definitions and laws that existed before he got here and so on. Wage gap, didn't bring up anything about wages. Weightless example, how he's associating himself with Native Americans or African Americans, historically or otherwise, how he's associating himself with the settlers and their lack of needing a citizenship, and then also then later vilifying them. Yeah, I'm circling weightless example. Privilege, no. White supremacy, no. Toxic, no. Make something about race, sex, etc. for no reason. I mean, he brought up his race several times. We're talking about immigration. Immigration doesn't, modern immigration, because God, you know, he brings up the past. Modern immigration doesn't take into account race. It's either you pass or you don't. You followed the rules or you didn't. You qualified or not. So I'm going to circle that one because a lot of this, yeah, if he's just talking about immigration laws, that doesn't really mean anything. Microaggressions, unconscious bias. The whole "where are you from" thing is a classic unconscious bias example, so I'm going to circle that one. Leaves out vital context. Leaves out vital context. Okay, vital context to his argument. Yeah, because he kept bringing up things and not following them. Like, is he asking for the questions to be harder on the test? He did a lot of build-ups to things, but never paid them off. So I'm putting that one. Self-vilification or wretchedness. No, he never made himself the villain. The victim, certainly. The villain, no. Benevolent condescension. I didn't notice anything that I would say qualifies. If you guys think there's something in there, let me know. Equity, no. Marginalization. Not specifically. Oh, no, you know what? When he said that African Americans and Native Americans still don't have dignified citizenship, there you go. We got ourselves a bingo. Bingo! Continuing on. Feminism, no. Takes credit for something done, experienced by others in their demographic. I mean, sort of. Like I said, he tried to associate himself along the same lines as it should be considered the same as settlers from way back when, or people under previous laws, or how immigration used to work. So he's sort of like retroactively saying that he should experience what others did. And in their demographic, I mean, as a immigrant, and in this instance, I'll use the ambiguous form of the word because that's what we're talking about. So yes, I will circle that one. Mind reading assumes motives. I'd be stretching if I circled that one. I could say something like, oh, the tests that they put the citizens through are too thin to be considered a citizen or something, and therefore he knows something about the motives of the American system or something. Yeah, I don't know. I'd need a convincing on that one. And melodramatic pausing for effect. Again, it's edited. We got cuts and things, and he's not in front of an audience, so I can't really circle that one. But anyway, we have a bingo. But if there are other squares you guys think that I should circle, let me know. And give me a second while I get the bingo card displayed. So if you have anything else you'd like to say before I wrap this up in a couple of minutes, put it into the chat now. 1 second here. Let me get the bingo card thing displayed right here. No, that's not what I wanted. Stop it. Just, why are you... Okay, are you going to work? Tell me that you're going to work. I'd like it if you would work. Do that. There you go. Good job. Good job. All right, so there you go. There's the bingo card as it is currently displayed, guys. We have a bingo down the O to the B and over to the chat. Anthrax Allen, he unknowingly came here illegally, then failed to correct it when he was informed otherwise, then continued to live here illegally for 22 years, and now he's making excuses for himself. Well, I didn't hear any excuses so much as he just wants what happened to him in his situation to not be illegal because of blah in the past. I guess. Dina B says he wants no test at all. I didn't get that. He was complaining that the test was too easy, I suppose. Or it somehow wasn't reflective of what a real citizen should be, which is participation, engagement, and contribution, which doesn't make any sense either. So, point curation. I'd like to immigrate because I want to speak my mind and want others to be free to do the same. I think, quote, American exceptionalism, unquote, has something to do with it. I've always thought American exceptionalism is a bit arrogant of a notion, but as compared to a lot of places in the country, and especially the contrasts I've seen in law and behavior in the last, let's say, 6 or 7 years specifically, I mean, watching what's happened to my friends in like Scotland and the UK, or other content creators like Count Dankula and what happened to him, it's terrifying. It's terrifying what constitutes a crime over there now. And fingers crossed. I'm not religious, but I'll pray every day that we never reach that particular point in America. But with the way that some cancel culture stuff goes these days, as some people's lives get destroyed over a single mistake or someone interpreting something a particular way on a tweet from 20 years ago or whatever, I don't know. We might not have a legal pitfall right now for some of the things that you see happening in the UK, Scotland, Canada, but there is certainly a social equivalent over here, depending on your circumstances. Let's see. Annalyn, Native Americans have sovereign land, and we're not subject to U.S. jurisdiction, which is why another amendment was needed. Right. Now he went over a whole bunch of stuff that if I were again more, detailed and blah blah. Thank you, Pepperjack. If I were more educated in the laws and history of Native American tribes, etc., I'm sure some of the things that he said and just sort of glossed over would have a lot more to be said about. But I don't know those things because A, I'm not a history major, and B, I'm pepperjacked. So there. Let's see. Check your logic. Cancel culture isn't real. Yeah, it's true. Darren Thompson, no excuses. He basically said it's our fault. Yeah, it's our fault that he's here illegally. I guess it's America's fault that he is classified as an illegal alien, which of course is now apparently racist terminology, even though it's completely accurate terminology. And I'd say the same thing about somebody, a white guy from Germany, as I would for him. So let's see. Faithless, whatever happened in Oklahoma with the annexation of Tulsa to native control? Oh, that whole thing. So it wasn't annexed to native control. It was about the It was about certain laws and whether or not they qualified for people who lived in that part of, oh God, this wasn't that long ago. And I know that there's a distinction. It's not that the state was given over to native control. It had something to do specifically with crimes committed. I don't believe it was actually like they portioned off part of the state and said, this is no longer Oklahoma. That is my vague understanding or recollection. So double check me on that one. Data Wasteland confirms Scribe is a cartoon vampire, blah, blah, blah. Why am I a cartoon vampire? Blah, blah, blah. Blah, blah, blah. Let's see. John Miller. I mean, he only broke the law and continued to ignore it. Nothing wrong with that, right? Honestly, now, this is a question that I've had for a long time. If somebody's brought here as a child illegally, they don't have any choice in the matter, no legal responsibility in that regard, and they find out that they're here illegally, is there a path to citizenship from that point? I know that DACA allows essentially people to not be subject to deportation inherently if they were brought here as a child. But is there something set up to where someone could, late in the game, work towards citizenship, or is like a time limit or something? I know I've either been told this before or have looked it up before in a past video, but I honestly can't remember. So was there a way for our speaker to achieve citizenship under his personal circumstances during the last 26 years or however long he's been here? And if not, I'd be curious to know why not. Or, I mean, if he didn't qualify for such a thing, I'd be curious to know why not. Because like I said, DACA has some, fairly good restrictions on it, particularly not having been convicted of a felony or have a criminal record or something like that. Let's see. Black Belt for Christ. I live in Tulsa. It's business as usual. Yeah, I think that whole annexation thing only applied to legal decisions from a certain time period or something like that. I'm not 100% sure. John Miller, I know in the story Razorfist told, a friend had the same thing happen and it took a decade to get her citizenship. She was in her 20s. Okay. Yeah, I thought there was a way to do it. I can only imagine the hoops you'd have to go through if you're coming here. If you were brought here illegally to begin with, there's probably a lot more hoops to jump through. But there is a pathway to do it. There's a way. So again, I'd be curious to know, has our speaker attempted to do that? And if not, why not? Because 26 years after finding out, or let's see, he was 16. No, I don't know. Anyway, he's been here quite a while and long enough to know that there was options available to him. Did he try to do that? And if not, why not? Let's see. No one nowhere. Yeah, he can get in line at the back. And that's really what it is. You follow the rules. The people who follow the rules earn their citizenship. They don't cheat. And I'll tell you what, people who cheat, and this excludes children. Children who are brought here by their parents, or in this guy's situation, not talking about that. But it is not very indicative of someone who would make a good citizen if your effort to come here and reside here was done illegally. It doesn't show a whole lot of respect for the country you are coming to. It doesn't show any respect for the laws that every citizen is expected to abide by. And on. I could carry that forward ad infinitum. And like I said, comparing that to what my coworker went through, comparing that to what my own ancestors went through way, way back when. And yeah, the laws for them coming to the country back then were far, far different than they are now. But they followed the laws. They're not faulted or somehow got an easy pass because we can look back on them now as simpler times or less sophisticated restrictions or something. Those were the laws of the time. Times changed. It says nothing about anything except for whether or not you respect the laws of the country you're coming to. And if you don't respect the laws of the country you're in, I'm sorry, someone who kills somebody who robs banks, I don't consider them much of a good citizen either. which is why they get their rights taken away from them and they get put in jail. And sometimes they come out of jail and they still have restrictions on their rights because they've shown they don't really care about respecting the laws or the rest of us who follow those laws. So I don't know why somebody of an adult maturity and cognizance coming to this country illegally thinks that somehow that notion doesn't apply to them as well. I don't get it. And I've never understood the arguments people say. It's like, this guy came here illegally, but he has no criminal record. And I'm like, well, avoiding the authorities for X number of decades isn't a point in their favor. I mean, would you say the same about somebody like, this guy robbed 7 banks, but he's never been arrested? Let's see. Annalyn, he got lucky the smuggler didn't sell him. Well, I don't give Grandpa a whole lot of points for having had his 12-year-old grandson smuggled into the country with a criminal, obviously a criminal, with fake papers. What could have happened in between? Dina says, slap in the face to people who do follow the rules and the law. Yeah, it is. It is. As though someone who just cheats their way in deserves to be held to the same respect or benefit as someone who's actually put in the work. No, that's not how life works. It never has been. Let's see. P-Dog says, seeking sympathy is so much easier. Yeah. What is the old phrase? It's better to ask forgiveness than permission. Yeah, maybe in some circumstances, but not this one, at least not in my mind. And Angry Illinoisan says, I would like Cryptic's view on this. Well, Cryptic has made it very clear every time we've ever talked about a story about this. I mean, I'm not going to speak for Cryptic, but I have a feeling, let's call it an informed opinion, that Cryptic would take exception to this individual quite a bit. I have a feeling. A couple more things, guys, and then I'll wrap this up. John Miller, I think legal immigration was a lot easier 100 years ago, but some mook decided that we needed a more complicated system to immigrate so that they could control how many got in. I mean, given the evolution of the world, the threats thereof, and so on and so forth, having an organized and somewhat regimented and restrictive immigration policy, I don't think is a bad thing. If you want to see like real restrictive immigration stuff done in a friendly manner, it's Border Security Australia. I think you can find episodes online. Just look up Border Security Australia and watch what those guys go through when just checking people's bags or checking someone's legitimacy to enter the country, and just how iron fist restricted they are. Because they're an island, they have a lot more options with really regulating who comes and goes, etc. And man, that is restrictive with a smile. And there are policies, I think, that if Donald Trump had said, I want to adopt the immigration and travel policies of Australia, he would get all the crap in the world if he didn't say Australia. If he just listed off how Australia does things and didn't brand it as coming from Australia, he'd be a tyrant, etc., everything else. But you look at what Australia actually does, and which is completely understandable because that's their country. They want to keep it safe and however they say it. Yeah, you want to talk restrictive, take a look at Australia, man. And let's see, one more here. Annalyn, it is crazy hard to get into places like Germany or France. Every major country has a lot of hoops to jump through to become a citizen. Every major country. America is effectively no different than most other countries on the planet. You don't just get to walk in and become a citizen. You have to go through all the processes. I couldn't fly to Germany and just say, I'm going to live here now forever. It doesn't work like that. It doesn't work like that there. It doesn't work like that here. And our speaker wants all of the rewards with none of the effort. And thank you, Princess Unicorn Nipples. Thank you so much for the donation. Scribe, do you think kids are being kidnapped from Mexico and posed as family to get into the U.S.? Oh, I know they are. I have a family member who works. Well, he's been reassigned since then, but he worked border security at the Texas border for the government. Everything. He was an administrator there, and he came to visit. He and his wife and kids came to visit one time, and I got to talking to him about it because I never actually talked to anybody. You know, I heard news stories and seen interviews and stuff, but I never actually spoken to someone directly about what happens at the border. And he was not one of the border officers. He's not like one of the guys at the border checkpoints, but he's one of the administrators, supervisor guys that has to deal with all of the reports and things. And the horror stories he told me. I mean, he gave me a couple of specific examples, but he talked in generalities about a lot of things. And he says that the one part of the job that makes him more sick to his stomach than anything else is a couple of things. Children being sent to the border alone, unaccompanied, where what are they going to do but let the kid in because they got nowhere to go, right? Those situations, and also the number of times that they've had to suss out children who are either being trafficked, like for the worst possible uses, under the guise of being family members to people coming in, or kids who they couldn't determine the origin of that were accompanied by people who weren't their actual family. And so they don't know if they were kidnapped, like actually kidnapped, or too young to be able to tell the investigators where they should be or who their parents are, that kind of thing. Those things scared him more than anything else because he's got small kids or young children. And so every time that one of those things would happen, he couldn't help but think, good God, what if that was my kid, kind of thing? What if my kid was taken in the night, paired up with some couple or somewhere and taken off to come across the border? Yeah, no, so that I know that happens. And that, yeah, anyway, I could go on, but I think I've gone on long enough. All right, guys. Well, thank you guys so much for joining me for this one. I haven't done a one on immigration in a while, and this one really didn't convince me of anything one way or the other on whatever he was arguing. Not really sure. I think he just wants to no longer be breaking the law because he doesn't want people to think he's breaking the law, even though he's breaking the law. Breaking the law, breaking the law. But we did achieve a bingo, legitimately, I think, even though I had to abstract a couple of them, but I'm willing to go with that, all things considered. Everyone, if you'd like to hear more from me, or Ranting Monkey, or Satsu 2 Cents, you can find us tonight, special night, on Ranting Monkey's channel, because it's Ranting Monkey's and Lady Monkey's 27th wedding anniversary. You can find us tonight there on Monkey's channel at 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern, for Lords of the Night, where we'll talk about the news stories of the day, stories that you submit, what we've been up to on the intertubes, and then your questions and comments. Everyone, thank you so much for your attendance. Thank you so much for your participation. Thank you so much for your generosity. I really do appreciate it. If you like this kind of stuff, please be sure to hit the like button. And if you share my stuff on Twitter particularly, please be sure to tag me in your tweets so that I know that you did so I can thank you personally, because I really do appreciate it. Everyone, I hope you are all safe and well. If you're not well, please get well soon, and I'll see you on the next one. Take care. Bye-bye.